comes from the whole home performance professionals at Lifestyle Comfort Solutions, offering a preventative
still active. Delays on materials, should that be any shock, is going to delay the completion of that till March, hopefully March. Moving on, Indian Ripple sidewalks. Did anybody else feel like you were going to hit both sides of the barrels, going through that? I felt like I was in driver's ed again, going through that. Especially with an F-150, I felt like my mirrors were going to tap on both sides going down through there. So I'm glad that one's done. State Route 835 resurfacing, man, that's smooth through there now. And we have just a little follow-up with some final markings in 2022. Colonel Glenn Highway streetscape is completed, and we completed the curb and resurfacing project this year, and completed a little bit of the alternative streets as well. All right, so the executive summary, now we're getting to the actual budget part. That finishes the 2021. The 2022 municipal budget and corresponding appropriations ordinance is being presented for consideration consistent with section 10.10 of the City of Beavercreek Charter. I mentioned that earlier about how we do this because of the charter. The budget process, I kind of did discuss this early on. Directors really, we started at, let's back up. We start this really in July, before July, for the tax budget that we approve, the council approves at the early July. Now, that's just a rough estimate, and most of it is just numbers we already know from last year are consistent. But then council sits down with staff and myself at the council manager strategy session in July that we had. And that's where we get input from you. We get input from you on what things are priorities. Then we begin to put the budget together. And as the budget comes together, it comes through me for meetings, multiple meetings at times. And then by the time we have massaged that, then November rolls around. And November, we have the public hearings. And again, more input from you. What do you like? What don't you like? And then, of course, public input that we have. We take questions from the public. Then, after that, we massage it to what we heard, and we bring it before you tonight. So this is the January 1st through December 31st, 2022, and also I'll be mentioning the 2022 municipal, or the 5-year capital plan. All, again, will be available on the website. So this is just a high-level, very high-level summary of revenue and expenses. It's in the millions. And again, council has already seen a lot of this by line item, so that's why people at home thinking that this is the only thing council sees and is approving based on this, that's not the case. They've had the ultimate details and time to ask questions, and which they have. But as you can see, the general operating budgets, the general fund, the police, the street levy fund, and the park levy fund are all above 20%, which is a threshold that we ask, that council has asked that we maintain, which is very important, and it's still low, but it's very important that we maintain that operating, for cases like COVID, when things shut down, for cases like a major tornado comes through and you have to have funding. So it's very important to maintain those. All right, so as I break through by category, revenue category, the chart illustrates that the city's reliance on property taxes and grants to generate the revenue necessary to maintain operations and fund the capital improvement program. So as you see, property taxes account for $22.3 million, or approximately 51.2% of the total 22 revenue budget. This represents a 2.5% increase over last year. Despite the increase in property values, voted levy revenue remains relatively the same. 90% of our voted levies are not impacted by reappraisals. Let me say that again. So when people's values of their homes by the auditor, county auditor, went up 15%, 20% on the values, you see we didn't get 15, 20% of revenue, because 90% of our revenues, 90% of our income that we receive are in voted levies that do not change because of the evaluation. That's the police fund, that's the street fund, that's the parks fund. All those, when values go up 20%, it doesn't impact those levies. That's why it is hard to property tax growth of a normal of anywhere from 1 to 2% is difficult to maintain with inflation and even cost of living. We're always back for more because it outpaces the revenue that we receive. Intergovernmental revenue is $5.6 million, approximately about 13% of the 2022 budget, and is the second largest revenue source that includes local government funds, cigarette tax, like liquor and beer licenses, hotel motel tax, gasoline and motor vehicles taxes and fees. Now, some of those are just now coming back. The gas tax is coming back. We're seeing life in that. The hotel motel tax that went almost to nothing is making its way back as well. And actually, some new hotels have, will be probably coming online or just came back online because of COVID. They were almost ready to open when COVID hit. These taxes are budgeted an increase of 2021 to pre-pandemic levels, with the exception of interest savings. We were almost at 2% interest, and now we're almost paying the bank to keep our money again. So that's a shame when you think 2%, you're making it good, but it felt better than near zero. Oops. So grant revenue, again, is the third largest and accounts for $4.4 million, or 10% of our entire budget. Part of that's going to be the American Rescue Plan, which is revenue we budgeted $2.5 million, and some of it's ODOT grants for the two major infrastructure projects. We did receive, I'll talk about it later, but $5 million is the American Rescue Plan, but we received $2.5 million in the revenue this year. I'm talking revenue right now. So $2.5 million this year, and by mid next year, we'll get the other $2.5 million. The makeup of the remaining revenue includes charges for services, interfund transfers, license fines, fees, special assessments, and miscellaneous revenue. I'll skip, that's why I kind of read to you, but I figure it speaks more to see the pie chart. Now, let's switch to expenditure by function. It's $46.6 million. It excludes the interfund transactions to avoid duplicating the same money just because of a transfer. We exclude that, so it's $46.6 million. The total of expenditures is approximately $6.4 million increase over 2021 adopted budget. Large of the increase is $4 million in expenses that we budgeted for the American Rescue Plan fund related to the federal grant related to the coronavirus. That will be used later for the capital improvements budgeted in 2022. In 2022, proposed budget by function, we go street funds accounts for $19 million, or 40.8% of the budget, and this includes $5.4 million for infrastructure improvements, $1.5 million paid through grant funding, also $2.3 million for the residential repaving. Public safety, this represents the second largest of $11.4 million. It's nearly 25% of the total budget. Parks and Rec, much smaller, $3.2 million, which is 6.8% of the budget. And the remaining $13 million is comprised of golf course, debt service, and general fund expenditures. All right, we'll move on to expenditure by category. This is the largest category, is wages and benefits. I will say that with wages and benefits, $17.3 million accounts for 37.2. We are a service industry, so to speak. So actually, for most cities, you'll see that I've heard many of the presentations by other cities, and this is 80 or 90% of most cities. Ours is not, because look at the capital and contractual amount that we do. That's so we have very small staffing in comparison, and it is reflected in the amount we spend. This includes a salary increase for union and non-union anywhere between 2.25 and 2.5%, and a blended health insurance rate that we keep trying to keep in check at 12.4%. The second largest component of the budget is capital, which is $15.4 million. 33% of the budget is capital. Think about that. The majority of these expenditures relate to street funds, which includes dedicated capital improvements as part of the 5-year capital improvement plan. Contractual is the third largest, representing $7.7 million, 16.5% of the budget. And some of the larger items for this includes resurfacing of the streets. Remember, that's $2.3 million. Funding back to pre-pandemic after the delay in 2020. Remember, we had a delay in that, but that led to increased efforts in 2021 once we got our FEMA reimbursement and Ohio EMA funds. Interfund charges for indirect costs is also included in contractual and other professional services, including legal fees, prosecution services, liability, property insurance, Greene County Combined Health District services, animal control, audit costs, recreational programs, and the In Touch newsletter. So there's many things that make up that category. Budget highlights, just go over a few. The budget includes an addition of 3 full-time and 1 part-time employees. Full-time employees include a communication operator in the police department. Our 911 operators, we have to man those staff them appropriately. The demand for service in the police department for calls, either fire or police, have increased exponentially. Over 30-some%. It seems like over the last, Chief would have to give me the number on that, but it's well over 30-some%, and it keeps going up. So we have to man that. In public service, we're doing a GIS technician and also an assistant superintendent for facilities. There was a part-time at the golf course that went from seasonal, so it's really not an actual position. The funding was already there, but it was a switch from part-time from seasonal to part-time. But I wanted to express that the GIS tech and the technician and the facility personnel related to the infrastructure and Dude Solutions. So I spoke about that in length last year, and the same is true this year, that the infrastructure is very important, and that we were going to have a focus of staffing to manage the infrastructure data. If you don't manage the infrastructure data, you can collect it all, and within a year, 2 years, it's old information. And by the time it's old, it's outdated, it's no good again. So we don't want to do that with the resources that we're putting to building this program. With the delay of many capital purchases during the last 2 years, City has dedicated $1.3 million in replacement equipment and approximately $2.3 million in facility maintenance and improvements. The City continues to increase operational efficiencies with the addition and upgrade of applications, which includes finance, budget applications, human resources, and upgrade to the golf course. Computer system, actually. The City will also continue to review additional software and enhance to continue the aggressive program in line with the City's overall objective of increasing operational efficiencies. And then park capital, we spent some funding there, $203,000 in 2022 for playground enhancement at Royal Point. Will be $98,000, and Shout Park $17,000, bridge replacement at Stafford Park $17,000, and also continuation of the ADA improvement throughout the park. Budget at $10,000 this year. Remember the ADA, we got that, and it was over $1 million of American Disabilities Act improvements that the plan calls for, and we're trying to tackle that over the next 10 and 11 years. The budget also contains funding for the purchase of 100 acres. We just mentioned this, but this is the $500,000 grant that we have. It's 50% of the total cost. The second phase of this project, which Council has already approved to be applied for, the grant, is the adjacent 48 acres. And this is also being budgeted this year as well. The good news about the phase two, the phase 2 and phase 1, if we get the grant for phase 2, but all of the cash match, the local share of the match, is paid for by park fees, which were paid into by the developer. So in other words, to purchase 148 acres will be a combination of grant money and what the developers have paid that we charge them when they develop land here in Beavercreek. So that is outstanding. So that means it doesn't come from property taxes. It comes from those sources. We had a maintenance plan that replaces 2 of the 12 HVAC units at the senior center, which those are expensive, and you got like 12 or 15 of those units on top of the roof there. Budget includes $80,000 for phase 5 and 6 of the cart path resurfacing. You got to take care of what you have. So I'm glad the golf course that was getting a little bad, and it's much better, and we're almost done with that process. It includes $50,000 for phase 2 of the installation of driving range netting to capture golf balls well before they hit 675. Let's hope not, they don't get there. The 2022 budget also contains a lease program of 80 new golf carts with GPS and supporting vehicles, a beverage cart, and maintenance. The old carts were well beyond their useful life, and we may not make it with some of the carts by the time the new ones arrive. They're that bad. All right, looking to the future, I'll get through this. The departmental goals for 2022. Staff's going to continue to find creative solutions, implementing technology, researching, implementing shared resources, identifying efficient improvements, pursuing grant opportunities. We'll leave no stone unturned. Provide the most cost-effective services to residents. Myself will continue to ensure city and city council policy directives are implemented properly and efficiently, and develop strategies to provide, here's the key, long-term operational stability, sustainability, and alternatives to address funding and timing of the city's levies. On to communications, we're going to finalize the city's brand guidelines. We have an initial what we had, but now we're in focused and citywide. She's going to bring it together for us. Revamp Channel 5 content and expand the channel's viewership. Once we do what we're getting ready to do within this next month, and with all the new equipment back there, we'll be able to regain control of Channel 5 since the software is kaput. And for those watching, Channel 5 has been repeating the same program since September, August, something like that, and there's nothing we can do until it's unplugged. But that should be this month, so good news there. Expand communications with residents by conducting short, frequent surveys. We heard that very clearly. Instead of one long survey, we'll do many. Moving on to finance. Develop long-term financial strategies and alternatives. Implement new financial budget report application designed to increase operational efficiencies and financial reporting. We hope to get that. Start this year on that. Next year on that. Management of the American Rescue Plan. They'll help us keep us in line on administering, monitoring, and reporting of that. Human resources, we talked about this. They're going to complete a compensation analysis, a wage plan for non-union full-time employees to make sure that's updated. You got to update those every 2 or 3 years, especially with what's going on with inflation and just the employment realm. But here we talked about this, execute new employee evaluation program to increase operational efficiency. Again, another computer program that we have that will be able to do things more efficiently with that. Planning and development, perform permit and developer fee analysis. We're always going to analyze what our fees should be. Review and propose changes to the zoning code regulations. Very important that we keep on track. We listen to you, we listen to the residents who tell you when things should be changed, and we'll have work sessions, and if you guys ever have any comments on what things maybe we should look at, analyze, study, and then bring back a report, and then council we purposely have those work sessions so you guys have feedback of what you've been hearing. That way you can give us direction on what way to move forward. And we'll analyze the U.S. Census data as results come in. We can't wait to get our hands on that data. I think all of us are in that. Plan and development, also public outreach. Want to do part of the communications department, do the educational videos about planning and development, a lot of code enforcement, floodplain, overall permitting process. We'll be able to do that almost with all departments, just to give short 1-2 minute videos that explain certain processes. So we're probably going to use planning and development, Randy, as a guinea pig. So he's used to it, right? Update development process, quick reference, and my mic fell over. Does that mean it's quitting time? Let's see. Proactive code enforcement. We're going to continue with that pilot program that was initiated in 2021, and we'll have a formal ongoing program after best practices are recognized. And of course, we'll communicate with council. Now, here's an exciting thing for planning and development. Over the next couple years, with working, this isn't everything. This is the major ones that we know are coming that we've been personally working with. Did I skip it? Okay, maybe it's coming. It's coming. Sorry about that. Got a page ahead. I think I might have a different copy. All right, what this was going to say, and I'll just say it. What I wanted to show was a list of jobs from 2022 and beyond, from Unison, Project Promotum, Premier ER, Ashford to Beavercreek, Empowered Community, Soin Medical Expansion, the Meridian at the Mall of Fairfield Commons, Mission Point Office Buildings, and Radiance Technologies. From 2022 to over the next couple years, we'll have over 1,800 jobs coming to, high-paying jobs coming to Beavercreek. Keep that in mind, 1,800 additional jobs coming. All right, so the police department continue the transition, continue CALIA. Again, accreditation is very important. Conduct Safety Town, conduct Police Night Out, and develop, this is important and near and dear to my heart too, and Chief's heart, is develop an implementation of a police department wellness program. They see a lot. They need more help than somebody that doesn't, and we need to give them the opportunity. So Chief, I have asked the Chief to make sure that we get this underway, and he has plans in the works. Very important. Phase 2 of the Range Golf Club, Phase 2 of range renovation, 300 feet of more netting. Food and beverage, we're going to review other business models and explore options for an RFP for outsourced food and beverage. And of course, we said complete the cart path. Also, golf club, take the delivery on new golf cart fleet early spring. The GPS is going to be a neat, hopefully a neat thing that will allow golfers will love it because it tells them how close they are to the hole. But we'll like it. We'll like it too because we can send them a message to say, "Hey, come get you a hot dog" or something. We can actually send them some messages to help them with hunger or thirst. Parks and Rec. Now, Parks and Rec is part of the Public Administrative Services Department, so this is a division. But the Parks and Rec, I mean, people think of just parks. Well, yeah, we have 23 parks, we have 7 cemeteries, and we have the senior center, plus all the programs and the events that we do. So parks is more than just parks. Speaking of parks, again, make ADA improvements we're going to this year. We said about the Phase 1, complete the land purchase. Phase 2, we hope to complete, we hope to receive the award. I want good news by mid-year that the state and the feds have awarded us the Phase 2 grant to acquire the 48 acres. And then hopefully we'll be able to get that done by the end of the year. Of next year. Unfortunately, COVID and many of the state and federal agencies are still working from home and still backlogged, and that's what's caused this delay. But we hope to get that going. Develop a master plan for the acquired park land. We'd like to develop a master plan for the 148 acres. That will create the city's largest and largest park and preserve green space for future generations to enjoy. It will never be a housing development. It will never be a strip mall. It will never be anything. It's going to be green space forever, and that was important. The city's share of the grant, which I explained, will come from park development fees. We want to increase connectivity between the parks and nature and the community. That's always important for parks to do. Offer a variety of recreational programs and events, which they do a great job. Really can't praise them enough on And we want to establish the Greene County public, private, and nonprofit organizations to reduce overlap and fill program gaps. So basically, we're going to be working with all these other park districts, Greene County parks, we want our residents to have the best experience, whether it's provided by us or it's provided by Greene County or another entity. But develop a seasonal employee recruitment program as well, which again, seasonals are very difficult to hire, so we will have a planned strategy there. Create internal directory for frequently asked questions for services in Greene County. Again, that's in that partnership there. More parks, identify potential grant funding for the senior center capital improvement projects, recruit 10 new volunteers to assist with senior center transportation. Mayor Stone drives the senior center bus. A lot of people get picked up and then find out he's mayor, and yes, we have the mayor of the city driving the senior center bus, helping them take, he's shaking his head, but it's just like, we have volunteers. Our whole council is an example of volunteers. Vice Mayor Adams is COPP with the police. Everybody has an active role that we play, and we appreciate it. With that, explore rebranding to reach younger demographic of seniors in the community, because the senior center is 55 and up. So that's, a lot of our seniors are probably 65 and up, or even older. So try to recruit those younger. I'm only 2 years away now. Cemetery. Create a memorial tree bench donation program. I mentioned that earlier. Another way to remember a loved one. Create marketing strategy to drive business toward the Garden of Peace. It is beautiful just to even, I know it kind of seems morbid but it is very, very peaceful there. And it is, if you have loved ones there, I can't imagine a solemn place to sit and think about them. Public service public administrative services. If you remember, I said Parks and Rec is under that. And so is the golf course is all under that. But here we're talking streets, engineering, buildings, grounds, facilities, and fleet maintenance. The Assistant Superintendent and Superintendent of Public Administrative Services is to complete the American Public Works Association accreditation training. So we are not accredited in public services, but are starting the process to do it, to get it done. So we can be accredited in police, we can be accredited in parks, and finance wins all of its awards. So here comes public services. Training will be beneficial and help staff manage the process and learn best practices and network with other members. Complete the site redesign. We talked about that. It was where the salt barn is. Next, we're going to improve the day-to-day operations of better utilizing the work system. So that's, again, we're back to Dude Solutions. The staff continues to improve operations by better planning work jobs, dispersing of crews in the area, cutting down on cross-town driving, making sure crews have what they need for the job, and sending the correct amount of staff to the site. Nothing like getting to the site and then there's only 2 of you and you find out it's a 4-man job, right? Continue to improve landscaping citywide by finalizing and implementing a city landscape manual, and earn a recognition as a Tree City USA 5th consecutive year. We're in the process of that. We should be getting that. So congratulations on that again. We're going to maintain preventive maintenance programs and support services utilizing Dude Solutions, again, for all the city-operated facilities. That facility assistant superintendent is going to be responsible for that. We're going to assist homeowners and home buyers in the identification of FEMA floodplain boundaries. That's something we help. Very important. When you're buying a house, you need to know where you are. And when FEMA redoes the map, it's very important to know how that may have impacted or changed what FEMA updated. We also do that. Planning department also assists with that. Prepare application for new federal aid. Of course, here we go. Engineering is going to apply for the Ohio Public Works, Clean Ohio, Rails to Trails by parks, CDBG projects, and multiple other funding sources. Again, we won't leave any stone left unturned. And the engineering department is currently working on our stormwater study and mapping, administer consulting contracts to complete the GIS storm sewer mapping. If you remember, the last time the stormwater study was done in 1983. With that, with the ARPA funds, which I'll discuss in a minute, we're going to be doing stormwater. So we wanted, that is unfunded. Stormwater for a street, we have a certain amount of money, but stormwater that goes through people's backyards and wipes out your sheds and does all that damage, we have $0 for that kind of stormwater. So we will be attempting to use the funding wisely. First of all, to have a professional and do the GIS that will actually, that information then will be able to go into the dude solution and be part of the system, so we know and can build the projects that are needed. So projects, speaking of street projects, you have Shakertown road widening for 2022, Factory road widening. They all start sounding alike because how many times have we widened Shakertown? How many times have we widened some of these? North Fairfield. McGrath Way, that's going to be exciting to get that done by Dunkin' Donuts. For you don't know, we've renamed, council approved the renaming of Lance Road, that changed it to McGrath Way in honor of our former late Director Jeff McGrath of Planning. And so it's going to, where Duncan is, and it's going to punch out by the funeral home on Dayton Xenia. So we plan to have that done this year. Next year, sorry. Annual resurfacing, we'll get that back to regular normal of $2.3 million. All right, wrapping up here. Everybody said, thank goodness. 5-year capital improvement plan. We presented to you this at budget time. It includes streets, traffic, building and lands, parks, recreation, culture, pedestrian, bicycle facilities, golf course facilities, and stormwater improvements. Now, one thing I always want to stress, that while the improvement projects listed in the 2022 are feasible given current grant and city financial resources, the capital improvement plan should not be considered to be a comprehensive project list to meet all outstanding needs for the city. It can't and it doesn't. Certain areas we have known projects that we've put in there as unfunded, but we would spend an enormous amount of time creating unfunded things that we have no funding for and actually no time to create the information to be funded. And that's part of what we're doing with Dude Solutions. That's going to kind of help it make us easier on knowing what we have. There are some known unfunded projects listed in various sections of the capital improvement projects, so, of the book. As previously mentioned, additional funding and staff will be required to maintain this data. All right, the city, talking about infrastructure and capital forecasting, the city's infrastructure needs, including streets, stormwater, sidewalks, curbs, city facilities, and more, will continue into the future years. Continued identification of infrastructure needs to be and is a priority. Additional funding and staff, as we mentioned, will be required to maintain the data and program systems created, not to mention the infrastructure projects as a result of that data. Staffing being requested in 2022 budget, we've mentioned this, GIS technician and street inspection and assistant superintendent of facilities. Infrastructure needs will continue to increase in the cost posing critical funding challenges. Beavercreek City Council passed a resolution. I want to talk about the American Rescue Plan here. Back in October, Council passed a resolution that basically established a framework for the funds on how they were going to be used. We received, or will receive, $5 million. That sounds like a lot of money, and it is. But when you have $200 million in backlog projects, $5 million is small. But we wanted to, the city's plan for the $5 million in ARPA funds is to dedicate approximately 92% of infrastructure and the remaining 8% on capital. The projects will include water and sewer, roads, and stormwater infrastructure projects that are identified in the city's long-term capital improvement plan. When developing this city's strategic plan for the use of these funding, the city focused on one-time funding of long-term, multi-year, high-impact projects that have little to no funding sources. These funds will not be used towards salaries or ongoing operational expenses. Although these federal funds are critical to addressing some of the backlog of the infrastructure projects, the impact of these funds will only address a small percentage of the city's backlog of unfunded or underfunded infrastructure. All right, before I switch gear, this is our map, and I know it's hard to see, but of our property, nothing has changed really on here except for the top part where I think it's called Beaver Circle property. I don't know where they came up with that, but that is the property off of CJ that we have acquired. We have the second part of that being closed on this month, but this is the initial almost 2.5 acres that we have already closed on this year, and we have another 0.75 of an acre, I think it is, that we will be closing on, looks like the end of the month, right, Mr. McHugh? All right, final thoughts, and I'll wrap it up. City services, if you had the InTouch, you've got a jump start if you read the first couple of pages with public services and the police department. With the city's continued growth and increase in service level requirements, increase in the traffic, the calls for service, the city has determined that additional staffing is required, not only in public safety, but also in public services. So public services, you know, that's your snowplow drivers, that's the guys fixing the streets, helping with the lighting, all that kind of stuff that they do, filling the potholes. The surrounding communities and staff significantly below average. And over 20 years, the basic same level of staffing has been had. And we know how many lane miles, how much more traffic is on it, on the roads, the wear and tear, everything else has gone through the roof. But in the past, the funding that we have required, you said, well, we've had additional funding. Yes, the additional funding that through levies that we have utilized has mostly went to capital. It's all went to capital. That's why you see the large number of capital, and not the addition of staff. But now it's to the point where staff, you know, seasonals, I mentioned seasonals, we can't get them. We're contracting out mower services. It's unfortunate, but we're having contractors mow City Hall and the police department now, not staff members, contracted services. Police department has the lowest officer to resident ratio in comparison to other green Dayton agencies, greater Dayton agencies. Not to mention the drastic difference FBI says the number of police officers we should have. We have only added 4 police officers in 25 years. 4. Here's a pop quiz because this is one of the things that the Citizens Police Academy failed miserably at. Nobody got the right answer, right? The Councilwoman Schwartz. How many police officers are on the street at one time? Right now, how many police officers are out there? And the Police Academy said 30. You know, we're a big city. We go all the way from Colonel Glenn all the way down to south of Indian Ripple, and we got the Green, and you got the mall, and you got a hospital, and you know, you have all that. Typically 5 to 7, sometimes 4 to 7, 4 to 8, right around there. Depends on people sick leave, people out, vacations, all that kind of thing, and which shift it is. But really, a good rule of thumb: 5 to 7. That's it. One accident on 675, 35. A robbery, something major happening, and you can see how fast it would tie up resources. Under the current funding sources, these critical positions are not able to be filled, which will be challenged to provide the service levels that residents, you know, expect. But city services, I want to stress this, are not just provided to residents. Let me say that again. City services are not just provided to residents. U.S. Census data reflects 88% of the workforce in Beavercreek are non-residents. They don't live here, but they work here all day long, and then they go back and if there's an income tax or some type of tax, they pay it back to their home community, Kettering, Centerville, Miamisburg, Dayton, wherever they live. But they get police protection, they get plowed roads, they get smooth roads, then they go back home. We're glad they're working here. Police statistics, this blew a lot of people away. Police statistics reflects that 70 to 80% of traffic stops, accidents, and arrests are non-residents. Again, not us, it's non-residents that are taking up and utilizing city services. With the city completing its financial strategy to stabilize property tax base along with the financial pressures mentioned and to provide sufficient service levels due to increasing populations and service level requests, as well as addressing the infrastructure issues, the city must shift the priority of finding additional funding sources. With limited options available, a tax initiative would be required in 2022 for the financial sustainability of the city's services and future. And I wanted to add that new funding, police, we haven't had any new funding as of next year for 8 years. They've been operating on the same funding level. Public services hasn't had as of next year, it's been 6 years since any new funding for them. And as I've said, with COLA, inflation, outdrives property tax revenues, especially when you consider that those normal property tax increases are usually 1% to 2% a year is all it is. And I wanted to just remind, I wish I had that chart in there, but somehow I missed it. But the 1,800 jobs that are coming. That's going to be more cars and roads and services on the streets. Again, more wear and tear, more police services. That's 1,800 jobs within the next 2 or 3 years. To our employees, I just want to thank personally the employees. They've done an excellent job. Thank you for your hard work. Without the support of staff provides, the city would not achieve all these things I just spoke about. You keep the city going each and every day for residents, business, and visitors. It's your dedication that contributes to a great city, and I appreciate your efforts. And to the residents, I'd like to thank the residents for their support and working with the city. We have great partners out there, residents. Thank you guys. We appreciate all that you do and all the volunteers, from parks to seniors to, you just be surprised how many people volunteer. All the boards and commissions, we thank them. And we're looking forward to serving the community in 2022. And that's all I have for you tonight. I'd be glad to take any questions.
Do we have any questions?
How long did I go?
I think, Debbie, would you please turn on the 3-minute timer now? Now, we appreciate the state of the city, Pete, and we appreciate your leadership in that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. Next is Resolution 21-51.
Resolution number 21-51, a resolution accepting the 2022 city budget as presented by the city manager.
Thank you. Discussion?
Move to approve the resolution 2151, Your Honor.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 21-51. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. And that is the budget that the city manager just outlined for us a few minutes ago. Next is ordinance 21-26.
Ordinance number 21-26, approving the annual appropriations for the city of Beavercreek, state of Ohio, for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2022, and ending December 31, 2022, and authorizing the transfer of monies.
Thank you. Discussion? Just before we do that, again, this is part of the state of the city that was just presented. This is an ordinance, and so it is subject to public input. So is there anyone here tonight that would like to address council on this ordinance? If there is, please come forward. Seeing none, we will move on. Any discussion on council? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve ordinance 21-26.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 21-26, and because this is an appropriation ordinance, we will have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Bales.
Yes.
Councilmember Dewar.
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia.
Yes.
Councilmember Schwartz.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Adams.
Yes.
Councilmember Curran.
Yes.
Mayor Stone.
Yes. All right, next, resolution 21-52.
Resolution number 21-52, a resolution to set and approve the 2022 wage for the city manager.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yeah, this is something that I think we started a process in October of evaluating the city manager. Comes from all the city council people sitting here. And we put all that together, and then we'll meet with him the beginning of December. And based on what we did this year, I would make a motion to approve Resolution 21-52.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve resolution 21-52. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next is resolution 21-53.
Resolution number 21-53, a resolution by Beavercreek City Council authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute an agreement by and between the City of Beavercreek and the Miami Valley Research Foundation to purchase approximately 100 acres of land from the Miami Valley Research Foundation to create a community park for public use with funds received from the National Park Service's Land and Water Conservation Fund grant.
Thank you. And Pete, I am starting a 3-minute clock on you.
Yeah, it'd be short. Pretty much what she said, but we do have, we were not allowed to negotiate as part of the grant. You're not allowed to negotiate or anything. So once the grant became official that we received the grant, now we can begin the negotiation. Although the price is already known, but we will begin that process and do the environmentals, and it'll probably be early January or February before we come to a close. But we need to have this to authorize me to do so.
Thank you.
Move to approve 2153, Your Honor.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve resolution 21-53. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Next is council time. Councilmember Curran, would you like to kick us off?
Well, we've got a few things. First of all, attended, Your Honor, your monthly Thursday function, which was at the Hilton Garden Inn. Well attended and a lot of fun, and enjoyed the information received. Secondly, I had the opportunity to hear both the show choir. Vice Mayor Adams was the master of ceremony, so to speak, and a lot of people at Rotary really enjoyed the music. And then last week we heard from Judge Lewis about the challenges and the things that are going on in the juvenile court, which was very instructive. And don't want to forget the senior citizens Christmas lunch Thursday at 12:30 at the Senior Citizen Center. So there's always a big turnout for that, that's for sure. A few other things, of course, again, to recognize Chris Williams for all the years that he's put in, and just a great opportunity to see him here tonight. And then also to encourage our residents to come out for the winter walk at Wardinger Park coming up this Saturday between, I think, 10 and 1. And just want to encourage citizens to come out to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Schwartz.
Thank you, Mayor. A lot of repeats here. I also want to extend my congratulations to Officer Williams. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend his retirement ceremony, but I wanted to thank him for his service and congratulate him on the 2nd or 3rd chapter of life, the fun chapter. I also want to remind our residents of the Forever Green program that our Parks and Rec department does. It's a great program where if you purchase a Christmas tree and it's a rooted Christmas tree at the end of the season, the Parks Department will come out, pick up that Christmas tree, and they'll plant it in one of our local parks. So I think it's a great program within the city. I was unfamiliar with the program until just recently, so I thought that was a very cool opportunity to give back to the parks. Wardinger Park, as Councilmember Curran mentioned, I too would encourage residents to come out. I know that I will be out serving hot cocoa and cookies, so come and say hello, please. And last but not least, I just want to take a moment, as Councilmember Curran, reminded us at the beginning of our meeting today, to remember those who have lost their lives in the tornadoes. And, we've had a lot of local leaders who have lost their lives here recently with Sheriff Fisher and Mr. Glazier. And so just hold your loved ones a little bit tighter over this holiday season and remember the fragile way that life is. So with that, I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll see you next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Garcia.
Yes, thank you. Again, congratulations to Officer Williams, but also to his lovely wife and family. Being in law enforcement is a lot more than most people understand, and it takes a toll on your family as well. So congratulations to them for going through that last 30 years. The main update I have is MVRPC. MVRPC met for the last time on December 2nd. Councilmember Bales alluded to it briefly at the last regular meeting that the dues will be changing for MVRPC, so I have a little bit more of an update on that. The current dues structure was set in 2004 during an update for the MVRPC construction and bylaws and has remained pretty much unchanged since then. Actually, dues have remained the same for government members since at least 1996. Since then, MVRPC has many new and updated programs, including the Institute for Equitable and Livable Communities, Long-Term Disaster Recovery Network, which unfortunately we see the need for more and more today, Economic Development District, Regional Transportation Planning Organization, and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. As the city manager mentioned during his State of the City address tonight, we submitted 6 grants to MVRPC for funding through our engineering department. So we do receive a lot of benefits from MVRPC, so our dues will go up. The costs are adjusted based on the census population, and right now it was the 2010 census population that was applied for our cycle year of 2013 assessments. So they'll go up a little bit. I think we pay about 46 cents per capita. But I wanted to give that update just because of the main benefit that we do get from MVRPC. And otherwise, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year to everyone, and we'll see you in January.
Thank you. Councilmember Doerr.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank the city mayor for his presentation and for all of his amazing work on behalf of the city. You're appreciated. Thank you. And to the staff that work tirelessly, thank you so much for all that you do and for all that we just saw a snapshot of it, but there's really tremendous work behind the scenes. I'd like to also thank Officer Williams, and it's hard at my stage of life to conceptualize 30 years of service, but it really is tremendous. And so thank you to him and his family. I'd like to give a shout out to one of my daughters, Camille, who was awarded Student of the Month at her elementary school. She's in kindergarten. And there are 6 criteria for the award: respect, caring, trustworthiness, fairness, responsibility, and citizenship. And so tangential to our work, but thank you to the school board and the schools in Beavercreek that put this together and really invest in our young people. Really, really thankful for that. Finally, I have the opportunity on Saturday to talk to the men's breakfast group at Patterson Park Church. So I'm looking forward to that. Breakfast is served at 8 o'clock, and I'll be talking about what's happening in Israeli politics and their new prime minister there. So looking forward to that and, as well. I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Bales.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I too want to wish Officer Chris happy retirement. He's such an authentic and honest person. And he and I go back a couple of decades, and it's just been such a pleasure to get to know him and watch him serve the community. So I too wish him the best. The State of the City tonight, great job. This document is why I'm so proud to be a resident of Beavercreek, really. I mean, it talks about what we've done in the past and where we're going, and it's just, it's something that I think every citizen needs to know and be proud of, because we operate really on a shoestring, and we do so much with it. And so thank you for your presentation tonight and the entire staff for putting this together. And otherwise, just like to wish all of you a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, and look forward to a great 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too wanted to thank City Manager for his presentation tonight. A lot of really good information in there, but he can't do that alone. He's got a really great staff that works with him and for him that really does it all. And it's, I agree with Councilman Bales. It's nice to see that, and we've got a really great community here, and it makes me proud to be a part of it and to serve it. I wanted to thank Councilman Kern for bringing up the Friends Show Choir. I've had the pleasure of working with them for about 14 or 15 years now, and they're just a great group of people. They change every year, but it's amazing when having an opportunity to work with young people and see the cream of the crop, really. They really do a great job. I too want to congratulate Officer Williams. I've known Chris for a while. We've had several meetings at Submarine House, and I've even had the opportunity to have a drink with him once in a while, so that's, he has a tendency to do that every once, just every once in a while. Tomorrow I'll be serving along with several Rotary members. We'll be wrapping gifts for the underprivileged here in Beavercreek. We'll give those out on Saturday, along with a box of food from Dot's Supermarket down in Bellbrook. It's a chance for people that are probably not as privileged as the rest of us to have a good Christmas, a good meal, and gifts for the kids as well. This is going to be my last night sitting in this chair. It's kind of been interesting here. Next month, Councilwoman Garcia and I will be switching spots, and she'll once again be vice mayor. But it's been an honor to serve as a vice mayor for the last 2 years. It has been interesting, to say the least, with everything that's happened with COVID and the limited attendance rules we've had, masks and all kinds of obstacles. But we've made it through, and I look forward to bigger and better things as we go forward. And I certainly look forward to continuing to serve the residents of Beavercreek to the best of my ability for the next couple of years that I'm on council. And I want to thank them for giving me the opportunity to serve. And finally, I just want to wish everyone here and at home happy Christmas, or Merry Christmas, and a very prosperous and safe New Year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that means it's mayor's time. And just for clarity, I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting that it's fun to swear in new officers and to retire officers. I did not swear in Officer Williams, so I've not been around that long. All right, but no, it's always a pleasure. I don't know where the time has gone. It seems like just yesterday. I'm still learning to put 21 on my dates for the papers, and now I'm going to switch to 22, so a year from now I'll figure that one out. But, there's been a lot of challenges. And not just this past year, but the year before and the year before that. So it's not something that's new to us, and the city's handled it very well. And I just want to, as we look back and we see the hardships that we had to face, I hope everybody reminds themselves in this holiday season that, it's even more important to stay close to family and friends. Because you just never know when you have a pandemic like this or you have a tornado. And so I hope everybody spends some good quality time with their family and friends. Again, talking about time passing, this is the end of my 6th year as mayor. And also, last week was the end of my 2-year term as the president of the Dayton Area Mayors and Managers Association, Greater Dayton Area. And Pete and I sit on that. Pete is the treasurer, and unfortunately for Pete, he has to stay treasurer. But I get to sit back and watch the new president, the Mayor Oda from Troy, take over and run the organization for the next 2 years. So it's always a pleasure for Pete and I to go and represent Beaver Creek at those meetings. I'll be headed up Thursday to Columbus to represent the city at the Ohio Mayor's Alliance, which is their last meeting of the year as well. So I'm looking forward to that, and and again, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to represent this city. I mean, we are a great city. So, that all said, I too would like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. And if you celebrate a different holiday, I want you to wish you a Merry holiday as well. And may you have a safe and Happy New Year. Thank you. Mr. City Manager, it's your turn. Oh, start that clock.
Yeah, start the clock. Well, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that I do want to thank my assistant, Diane Gould, who helped put the presentation together. I probably should have said that at the beginning, but she does it every year and does a fantastic job, and you get to be in sync with what the message wants to be, and so thank you, Diane, for with the presentation. Yes, the winter walks, Wardinger Park, 3080 Kemp Road. Cabins have been decorated. You can go there now to see them, but December 18th specifically, so that is this coming Saturday, we call it a winter welcome, 10:30 to 1 p.m., and visit Santa, reindeer, drink hot cocoa, eat cookies, listen to singing quartet as you stroll around the park with friends and family, and check out the groups that have been adopting the cabins. As Councilwoman Schwartz said about the Kiwanis Club, I helped decorate the Green Optimist Club. No friendly competition there. To mention that the Green Optimist won last year. Anyway, a little friendly competition. But it is great. Check it out. It's a good time. And hopefully the weather cooperates a little bit, not too freezing. And lastly, I wanted to say, we're going to be coming up on the days of the holidays where we're going to be closed. So December 23rd and 24th, as a Thursday and Friday, we're closed. And of course, then the following Friday, the 31st, we will also be closed. Of course, contact non-emergency line 426-1225 is the police department's dispatch that if there's a tree in a road or something of that nature, they'll get the appropriate personnel to come in. And lastly, I'll besides wishing everybody, I'll do say our next regular scheduled meeting is not till January 10th here at 6 p.m. January 10th at 6 p.m. And I do want to wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, and just be safe. And thank you for all you've done throughout the year. And I appreciate all the council members as well. It's always my pleasure to serve as well. I have a heart for it. I love what I do. I get a little overzealous at times, but that's just because I love what I do. But I hope that shows. So thank you guys, because you guys do a great job as well. And Merry Christmas.
Thank you. All right, at this point, it's citizen comment time. If there's anyone present this evening that would like to address council on any issue at all, please come forward and do so now. Okay, we will move on then. I think the next item on the agenda is item 12.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Debbie?